You're listening to Don't Tell the Easter Bunny, a podcast celebrating the unsung festivities that won't be found on any normal calendar. This show is presented by a mother-son duo who like to keep it safe for work. I'm Bryce, the son.
I'm Misty, the mom.
And you can reach out to us at Don't Tell the Easter Bunny for Instagram and Facebook, and at Don't Tell the EAS1 for Twitter.
Or you can email us at don'ttelltheeasterbunny@gmail.com. No special characters or spaces.
Okay, let's hop to it.
All right. Well, the second half of the duo is back from San Diego.
Woo, little
Yay.
pop confetti things.
Although I think he likes it out there a little bit better, but glad to have you back.
It's less humid out there.
Yeah, definitely I could deal with that at least. But glad to have you back, and glad that we can get back to the podcast this way instead of having to do over the telephone.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out like how we were going to do it, if I was going to stay out there longer, but we don't actually have to do that. We got everything figured out for our sound. So
hey, we're learning a lot though with this podcast. So if I had to have a telephone guest, that would work too.
Yeah,
I just learned how to do it. That's fine. So we are back with our episode. I know we've been gone for about 2 weeks, and our episodes are for this week. And I have the first one. It's World Mosquito Day on August 20th.
Oh, you're going to bug us with some mosquito facts?
Is that a bad dad joke?
Yeah.
You're not a dad yet. You can't tell bad dad jokes.
Bad dad joke, bad son joke. It's all the same.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, so I have following after that on August 22nd, World Plant Milk Day.
Plant Milk Day.
Mm-hmm.
Like silk from the strings or something?
I mean, you have the brand Silk, which is like soy, which is technically considered a plant milk.
That kind of milk.
Pretty much anything that is a dairy-free alternative for milk.
Oh, okay. That should be interesting.
Yeah. Well, we got something fun when it comes to that segment. Something a little bit different from what we've usually done.
Okay.
So.
I'll look forward to that. All right. So I will jump in here with my World Mosquito Day, which I was going to talk about this later, but I think I'll talk about it at the beginning. It is so apropos from just coming back from our trip to Montreal. I could not believe. So we live in Florida, or Longwood, just outside of Orlando. And the mosquitoes are really bad here, but we just kind of get used to it. It's just a year-round thing. We have mosquitoes, and the annoying thing, though, is when they get in your house and then, like, basically chew you up all night long. But I didn't expect mosquitoes in Canada. It's pretty cold up there, and I'm always told that we have the mosquito problem because it's hot, humid. We got a lot of stagnant water, things like that, and cold areas don't have mosquitoes. But they have us beat on mosquitoes. They might, they might only have them a couple months out of the year, but these things were massive. They were huge.
They're like remnants from the Jurassic period or something like that. They are giant dinosaurs, and they are frightening. And
they were so not only big, but they were just, I've been in swarms of them down here, but the swarms up there were horrible. And a few of our tour guides actually had like this netting over on their jackets and over their head to protect themselves.
Yeah, they kind of looked like beekeepers.
Yeah. So it reminded me, there was an episode of Shark Tank where there was a lady actually sewed jackets like that for her son. And then I guess they were like, hey, you should take this on Shark Tank. It's a great idea. And they ended up buying out the company. So
good for her. Huh?
That's what I kept thinking of when I saw our guides. But they were talking about, of course, this was not necessarily in the cities, because they do spray in the cities, just like down here around the theme parks. They spray all the time. So you usually won't, you can sometimes get some bugs out there, but for the most part, you don't get them, even camping out at their campgrounds and stuff. But we were in the national parks up there, so they can't spray because, of course, protection of the animals. And we were also in a very swampy, I guess we call it a swampy area, at least a water area. And they said, I guess when the ice and snow melts, that it kind of pushes trees up and lifts them up and stirs up the bogs up there. And so they get like a mosquito season of a couple months. And they were bad. They were bad.
And we don't know if they were the mosquitoes exactly, but there was some bug while we were canoeing that, you didn't even feel them. And all of a sudden, I heard Mom behind me say, "Why are you bleeding?" And I'm like, "I'm bleeding." And I look down and there's just so much blood running down from this one spot, this one puncture area. And then it turned into 2 and then 3 over the course of like 30 minutes or so. It's like, I didn't feel any of these, and I can still see. This has been like almost a month and a half later.
I know.
And I still can see where they punctured.
It was really bizarre because we could not feel them bite at all, and they definitely drew blood, and we bled for a little bit, and then after a few days, though, it started hurting and itching really bad.
Yeah,
and it's bruised, and like Bryce was saying, we can still see the places. So I don't know if we'll have scars, but all this is probably not great for us to be talking about, because the whole idea of World Mosquito Day is that it's to raise awareness about mosquitoes and malaria. So here we're talking about getting bit by mosquitoes, and probably not the best thing. You want to try to avoid mosquitoes, obviously. I'm going to talk about this, especially in other countries and stuff where they have the malaria. But definitely need to, try to put on different things. It could be natural too to repel the mosquitoes, although we did. We still have
We tried natural, unnatural.
So we probably need to have the nets too. But so this, once again, it's to raise awareness about mosquitoes and malaria. And it was created this day in 1897 by British doctor Sir Ronald Ross, and he discovered the link between the mosquitoes and the transmission of malaria.
Okay.
So he's the first person to really realize, that's how this disease was spreading.
Smart guy.
Yeah, and he identified that it was only the female Anopheles, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Anopheles, Anopheles mosquito transmits the disease. So do you know why it's only the female?
Have something to do with reproduction, I assume.
Yeah,
but...
so females are the only ones that bite, and that's because they actually need the blood to nourish their eggs.
Can't they find some other source instead of blood from other animals?
Well, it is interesting. They tend to go to others before humans, but
cows,
or birds. Birds is a big one. So birds go after mosquitoes quite a bit, or sorry, the other way around. Mosquitoes go after birds quite a bit. So, which brings up a good point. I know a lot of people don't like bats, and consider them bloodsuckers and all, but bats, especially down here in Florida, are definitely a natural enemy of the mosquitoes. So around our waterways, we live very close to the Wekiva River Basin, so we have a lot of bats around here, and they're encouraged. They try to, keep bat houses, areas that they can hang out in, things like that. And we see them in attics quite a bit. We actually lived closer to downtown Orlando, but we lived right by a park. It was our front yard, and at dusk, you'd actually see them every day flying around. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. So we don't really have a fear of bats. They're sort of neat. And for us, it's great control of the mosquitoes. Still doesn't get rid of all of them, though. But so we're big into citronella, which I'll talk about that in a little bit. But
okay, yeah, I want to talk about citronella in a bit, just because I heard it actually isn't as effective.
Right. Well, I mean, it repels them. It doesn't kill them. And yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not effective. So what it does is, so I was going to talk about it later, but hey, we'll be talking about it now. It actually masks the smell. So what the mosquitoes are attracted by certain scents. And you know how I always say that they must love my sweet blood because they're always attacking me. Mama never had that issue, but they're attracted to certain scents. So I'll kind of go into later a little bit, about different scents and what they are. But the problem with the citronella is it masks the scent. So if that scent is still strong, or a lot of times what happens is like you'll put the citronella candle maybe near you or the citronella plant near you, and it doesn't really help. You need to keep it, farther away. So where they're flying, they're going to get that smell before they get like your smell and stuff.
Well, I heard that you have to actually like crush it and dilute it. So like a candle makes sense, but actually just putting the plant nearby you.
Well, there's different ways. Yeah, the citronella actually comes from the oil of a citronella plant, and that's true. They can smell the citronella, but it's not as strong as, of course, as crushing it. But there's other ways. There's candles. There's diffusers. There's those tiki torches now that have it. So there's a lot of other ways that you can get it out there too. Also, a lot of the bands that you can wear on yourself and just natural things like that are have the citronella in them too. So it is the oil. So definitely the oil is much stronger smelling than being like, on the plant where it's until you break it up, basically. Okay. So yeah, having the plants now up at our family in Tennessee, that was the first time it's funny living in Florida, we think I'd see citronella plants everywhere. We had heard about citronella and used it, but never the plant until we went up to the farm up there and they had them, and she never had problems with mosquitoes. And I asked her one time and she said it was because of the citronella plants, and she never crushed them. So I don't know. But once again, a lot of it is the placement. They said the problem is a lot of people put all these things around them thinking it's going to protect them, but it actually is drawing the mosquitoes to them instead of like keeping them away. So really you need to do it more on the perimeter of the area before it even gets to your smell. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but back to Ross. So he identified the female mosquito, and in 1902, so let's see what that'd be, 5 years later after he discovered this, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for his discovery. And I'm kind of surprised it's like that early on, or like late 1800s and early 1900s, but. So I guess they've been having to deal with mosquitoes, since the beginning of time, cavemen and all of that. Of course, I guess Jurassic Park is based on that because it's the mosquito and the amber, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that they're looking for. So.
Well, I was just one of my friends was listening to NPR, and they had a whole thing dedicated to mosquitoes too. I don't think it was for this day, but they're just talking about like a book coming out and something to do with the historical, socio-cultural kind of thing with the mosquitoes and how it kind of affected the development of cities and certain places.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think a lot of like diseases and stuff, the plague and all, really change cities and how they do develop and things like that. And then since we got to talk about conspiracies every time, it seems like there's a lot of movies out there, such as Jurassic Park, and I think 0 Hour, the TV show, might have been one where they tend to seek out mosquitoes that have been preserved because I guess for the fact that they do suck that blood, so they need to have the blood and the DNA and things like that. So actually an interesting thing about that, sucking the blood. So there are studies being done right now because when a mosquito the female injects her proboscis or whatever it is into you to actually draw out the blood, she has this mix in her saliva that is basically almost like a Coumadin and anti-clotting agent. So that way she can pull out the blood without it clotting. And so they have been doing studies into this about the stuff that they spit into you, basically, so they can see, can we use this as a clotting or anti-clotting agent at some point? But that's also what gives us the bump, because basically we're having a reaction to the stuff that they're putting in there. And that's also basically why you get malaria or you get Zika or any of these diseases that are transmitted by the mosquito, because what they're doing is they're injecting their saliva into you. So if they just literally kind of came up and drew out your blood, then that probably would not, be an issue. But since they're injecting stuff into you to break up those clots and not allow your blood to clot so it can pull it in, then that's how it's actually transmitting diseases such as malaria and some of the others out there. So I kind of found that interesting. Why is it only mosquitoes that do that when, like you said, we had whatever bug that was up there bite us and, draw blood and stuff.
So, like, theoretically, if we could go in and, like, I don't know, mess with the population of mosquitoes so they didn't have that coagulating agent and, leaving their saliva and all that, it could maybe be possible to not have, like, the diseases from...
Well, I probably wouldn't have the diseases, but that actually probably would have killed off the whole population. Because if they couldn't draw the blood because it clots and they wouldn't be able to draw it in to fertilize the eggs, it would kill them off.
I feel like this is a win-win.
Yeah, except for I guess there must be some good reason.
No,
I don't
there's
know.
not any reason.
I mean, all the articles I read, they're dangerous and stuff. There's got to be some good reason for them, but who knows? I don't know.
They feed the bats.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, I don't know what the bats would eat otherwise. I guess fruit, but anyway. So yeah, so see.
Or even the mosquito switch to eating fruit. Come on, you guys can go into the fruit and you don't even have to care about the coagulate.
So there's a funny, I think you're too young to remember Far Side. Have you ever seen any of the Far Side cartoons or any of the...
I know the name, but I don't think I've seen it before.
I had a couple T-shirts because there was a big, it was always out there, but it, like, I don't know, became a cult classic, for a certain amount of time. And so Gigi had gotten me this shirt and it had a mosquito and it's all puffed up, huge. And it's supposed to be a mosquito couple. So that's the female and the wife. And the husband is yelling, "Pull out, Betty, pull out. You've hit an artery." So,
yeah.
That one was funny. I had that one. And then the other one I had was, it was something like the University for the Gifted or whatever. And the door says, "Pull." And the person's pushing on it. So anyway, those were very funny.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So okay. So so I guess it's probably good to talk about malaria, exactly what it is. I know you have actually had to deal with this, not you personally yourself, but you worked in the medical field with people in malaria.
Yeah. So when we went to Ghana. Well, one thing is, if you're going to Ghana or many other West African nations, you actually have to get the inoculation for like yellow fever and malaria and such, and to just be able to enter into the country. When we were there, we were, helping run free primary healthcare clinic, and a lot of the tests had to do with malaria, and basically prick the finger, have a little bit of blood come out, and it's kind of like, the best way is maybe to think of it looks like a pregnancy test. And if it's positive, it'll show up on the certain part of the stick, where it's like coated in whatever agent it is. And if you don't have it, then it won't show up. But that was one thing that we did have to at least, analyze, I guess. We at least had to observe if they had malaria or not. I actually don't remember if we were able to treat it. That might have been one that we had to either like say we need to send you off to another clinic space where they have antibiotics, but it was a serious issue still, and mosquito nets were prevalent everywhere. So
I actually found that interesting when you came back from Ghana and told me about that, because you hear about malaria You hear about how important it is to help people in those countries protect, from malaria. But I always thought it was deadly, which it is, but it's also treatable and very easily curable and treatable. So I thought that was fascinating. And then when I was actually doing the research for this day, they had talked about that too. That this comes from talking about the nets, Nothing But Nets. Comes from their website. It's actually an organization. It's a United Nations foundation. But once again, Nothing But Nets. So I talk about them a little bit more in a minute. But they did talk about malaria testing and treatment. So they said, this is a quote from their website: diagnostic testing, mainly using microscopes or rapid diagnostic tests, allow health workers to identify and treat malaria quickly. Malaria is curable if it is treated in time with an effective drug. The main medications used to treat malaria in sub-Saharan Africa are artemisinin combination therapies.
Sure.
ACTs. So anyway, so when I was researching this, I'm like, oh yeah, you had mentioned that you had to do some of that testing and that it was curable, which I did not realize.
Now that you mention the ATC or ACT, whatever they are,
Yeah.
we actually did have the drug on hand. They were kind of like little pills. And so we were given a chart it's kind of like a formula to say, all right, if the patient is a child of this certain height, then they have to take like this many, these many amount of pills throughout the day. And then on top of that, it would take like up to a week to 3 weeks or so for it to actually fully flush out the malaria from them.
But it's amazing though that they can do that. So that's definitely modern medicine and great that they can do that. So going back to what malaria is exactly. So this is also coming from the same website, Nothing But Nets. It's nothingbutnets.net. I don't know if I said .com, but it's .net. So once again, I'm going to quote exactly what they said. Malaria is transmitted to people through the bites of Anopheles mosquitoes, which primarily bite at night and carry the life-threatening diseases caused by the blood parasite Plasmodium. So stop here for a second. So that's interesting too. So it's actually this parasite that is really doing it. So it's mixed in with that saliva, then injected into.
Yeah.
So that's why I guess not everyone, gets malaria, because if they're bitten by a mosquito that doesn't have this parasite in it, then they won't develop malaria. But then the person next to them, might get another mosquito that has that in them. So it's not the mosquito itself. It's whatever one has this parasite breeding inside of it. So in 2019, so this is what I did like about their site was give a lot of different resources and things to help, but they were very, very current on things, statistics and all like that. So in 2019, there were 219 million new cases of malaria worldwide and 435,000 deaths. So that's kind of sad because it is preventable, or not. I guess not. The death is preventable, not the disease per se. Even though even the disease is preventable when we talk about like the nets and all. 70% of those 435,000 deaths were children under 5. And nearly half the world's population is at risk of malaria, but most of the malaria cases and deaths occur in sub-Saharan Africa. However, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East are also at risk.
And I mean, it makes sense why those areas are, very big for populations of people to get affected by malaria, is simply because it is hard for those citizens to get access to medical care. I mean, specifically, our group went out to villages that had issues with health insurance or transportation to medical clinics where they could get the drug. But, if you're out in the middle of sub-Saharan Africa and there's no big municipality around or any like branching clinic space, then it is very difficult to get any pharmaceutical.
Yeah. Seems like nowadays we could do that. But I mean, your organization was great. They're going out to help these rural areas. So it's just sad that they can't have that all the time. But
Yeah.
so I guess talking about that, then one of the ways that definitely the sub-Saharan cultures and just any culture that tends to sleep outside or maybe not have closed windows or screens or whatever, the easiest way to protect is by a mosquito net. And of
Yes.
course, I heard about that with you with the program, but also just in general, about nets. But I found it interesting because I didn't realize that the nets are not just nets. I mean, they are, it protects it from the mosquitoes getting in and getting through, but they also actually have something in them to kill the mosquitoes.
I didn't know that. I thought it was just like 2 layers of netting and then kept them
Yeah,
out.
but they actually have a stuff inside them. So it will not only, it doesn't just repel them, it actually kills them as well. So guess they don't have any bats, or if they have bats, they're starving bats.
Yeah, I guess so. They found some other food source.
Yeah. So some of the net statistics that they had today, approximately 53% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa is protected by bed nets. So that's pretty good.
That's a big improvement from, none.
I know. Well, compared to just in 2000, just 2%.
Oh, yeah. That's a
So,
very big
I mean,
one.
that was almost 20 years, but that's still pretty amazing. And the Nothing But Nets actually works with the UN partners and governments to identify the areas for greatest need. And then they purchase the nets and distribute them to families. So they kind of explain on their website, I guess often they're confused for they make the nets themselves, but they don't make the nets. They're just a foundation to help get the supply and then get them out to those communities.
So do they just work in contract with like a factory or several factories to make them? Okay.
Yeah. And then, so these partners and local governments have expertise in accessing remote, hard to reach areas. Did you actually give out nets?
No, I don't believe. The way we really tried preventing mosquitoes from reproducing was we would go and survey different homes, and we had like a checklist of, okay, is this a kitchen space that, is interior, so it creates smoke, and that can create a lot of rheumatic issues inside the house. So that's like an example of what we'd be looking at. And when it came to mosquitoes, we would be looking at their water supply. Was it a secure water supply? A lot of them have, like wells or barrels of water, but they might not be completely patched up or sealed. So mosquitoes can't get through and lay their eggs in this still water. And then, of course, it's tainted and all that. So we would go in and try to figure out what would be best to prevent it in the way of their drinking water or whatever else, bathing water and such.
That's interesting that you bring that up because, growing up in Florida, basically we're told walk around your house, dump out any of the rainwater in any buckets. Make sure your buckets are usually upside down. Try to, get things that won't accumulate water. But a few months ago when I did the rain barrel class, made the rain barrel, I was like, okay, how do you prevent the mosquitoes? And they said that it's because it's tight. And, there's only a small opening basically for the drain pipe or whatever to catch the water that you won't get any mosquitoes in there.
Yeah.
So I found that kind of interesting. I would just always assume it's like, if there's a little space, you're going to have a mosquito.
Yeah.
Because it seems like if we're out camping and we have a little space in our tent, that mosquito will find me.
No, for sure. Yeah.
So, okay, so we talked about nets as a prevention, talked about spraying both like personally or out big like mass spraying around like the theme parks. Also, just even in the communities, we don't get as much, I think, because once again, we're by a protected area for wildlife and all.
Right.
But downtown, when we used to live in downtown Orlando, they've come through spraying all the time.
And a lot of the time it's like the water in whatever community it is treated with some kind of a chemical that is also, I guess, I don't know. I imagine like to sterilize
Yeah.
the mosquitoes that land there or something.
Well, they do
But
have to eco-friendly and safe because when we had the fish pond and all, you could buy these mosquito rings that were safe for the animals. So I would talk about the bats. But another way that you can actually prevent it, we sort of mentioned this, was basically preventing smells and different things like that. So what I wanted to talk about, and these, so the next facts I'm going to talk about, just mosquitoes in general, some facts, but also what attracts the mosquitoes. These are from a company actually selling natural products, Mosquito noband.com. They sell natural mosquito products.
okay.
So mosquitonoband.com. All right, so another way that you can basically prevent them is, and not necessarily kill them, but is to make yourself less attracted to them.
I gotta, no more makeup,
Yeah, I know.
no
Yeah, you can't shake those
nice
tail
clean
feathers and
hair.
all that. So there are 5 human scents that attract mosquitoes. Did you know that?
No, am I supposed to guess which 5 they are?
Oh, if you want to, you can.
I I mean, it's not really like a pheromone or anything but sweat.
Ding, 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 ding. That would be one.
Um
And actually, that could kind of be 2.
so
So
like
I'll give
salt.
you 2 points for that.
So like salt. I don't know what else is in sweat. Water.
No, let's see.
I think you should explain all of them because I'm not gonna be able to pick up
Okay.
anymore.
So carbon dioxide.
Okay, I've heard that before.
So when we breathe out, they're going to be attracted to that. Body odor. So I guess because this would be the one that you said, like sweat. So there's body odor and secretions. So that's number 2 and 3. So I'll kind of talk about them. Body odor they have down as bacterial colonies combined with bacterial colonies combined with sweat generate that sweet, if you're a mosquito, human scent we call body odor. So that's that with the sweat, basically. And then the secretions, though, about 80% of us are secretors, or people who secrete compounds known as saccharides and antigens through their skin and indicate blood type. So mosquitoes are magnets for secretors. Once again, your classification as a secretor or non-secretor is determined by your biology, and there isn't anything you can do to put yourself in the non-secretor category.
Are
So,
mosquitoes like attracted to any particular blood type?
well, okay, so here we go. Next
Okay.
one is blood type. So, blood type. Depending on the type of blood you have, you secrete different scents. I never knew that. I even worked for a blood center for a long time. I did not know that.
I don't think that would be really something necessary for a blood center. Be
Well,
like,
but
hey,
we
if you
learned that.
sniff this person, you can tell if they're like an O negative.
Studies have shown that mosquitoes are most attracted to type O blood, which is actually the universal donor. So there would be a lot of people that are out there getting attacked by mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And they're least attracted to type A.
Okay.
No changing your blood type either, though.
No.
And it doesn't say if it's positive or negative. That'd be an interesting study. So, like, if you put an A positive and a negative person together, does one get attacked more than the other?
I think you should try that out. I think you should round up all your friends. Yeah, but like a negative and a positive, and then just release a bunch of mosquitoes.
But see, like I said, I'm kind of a magnet, but we're both type B. So I don't fall in the category. But we're not type A where they're really least attracted to it.
So we should be attracting bees instead of mosquitoes.
Yeah, there you go. So you should, because be positive. I should deflect them at be negative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the last one, this would be the last one. Number 5 is lactic acid. So it's interesting because I think when I'm working out in the yard, I tend to get a lot more mosquito bites, I think, than just standing around. And of course, lactic acid builds up. That's when you're doing like marathons and stuff. That's why
Right.
you get the cramps and legs and all that. So I don't know if like when I'm working outside, if I'm doing heavy moving and lifting and digging and stuff, if that's maybe more lactic acid.
Don't exercise and you will not get any mosquitoes.
Exactly. There we go. So basically, if could minimize you can minimize some of those, I guess, but not really. I
Yeah.
think you just got to mask them. So anyway, okay. So the last thing I have here is some top facts that you should know about them. It's also from let me look up again, the mosquitonoban.com, and it's did I say the top 5? So it's the top 5 facts you should know about mosquitoes. So there are more mosquitoes on this planet than humans.
That's a sad fact. I
It's
don't
a
want to
very
know
sad
that.
fact. Okay, you want to take a guess on how many, what they call tiny buzzing vampires?
So there's roughly like 7-ish billion people on the earth right now, right?
I guess.
Like 7.3 or
I
something.
don't know.
I'm gonna say, let's say like 20 billion.
Well, you're a little under, but
Oh,
100 trillion.
oh my.
Now, how they figured that out?
Yes, how do you estimate
Yeah,
that
who knows?
exactly?
I actually had a friend who worked doing some interesting biology things, and one was sexing mosquitoes and having to basically look under a microscope to determine male and female.
That must have been
That was
fun.
their job. I don't know. I think it's boring, but maybe it was fascinating. I really don't know. Anyway, did you know that there are 3,450 different species?
A mosquito's a mosquito.
Well, hey, now, compared to the ones in Canada, there is a definite difference
okay.
there.
Yeah.
That was not a mosquito. That was like they said, a buzzing vampire.
Mm-hmm.
To give you what they say, to give you an idea of what exactly that number looks like, if 100 trillion mosquitoes were stacked together on a football field, the pile would reach more than 3 miles high.
Mm.
All right.
Don't want to be going to that game.
Number 2, your blood helps create more mosquitoes. We kind of already talked about that. And that's because the female mosquitoes want the blood as protein for their eggs, and also because certain blood types they crave. Number
So
3.
wait, can you explain that a little bit? It's specifically the protein in like the blood cell?
Yes. So it's a protein in our blood. Yes, that is actually needed for the development of their eggs.
Okay. I think that's such a weird like evolutionary thing, Be like, we can't produce this. All these other animals can. Let's go steal some of that from them. Instead of like, oh yeah, we should probably produce it ourselves.
So if we ever have a generation of like the V people, with like alien type people or Terminator or something, and fake blood, then probably kill off the mosquito population.
All right, let's work on that.
I kind of like your idea better, clot. Although I don't know, that might be cruel to the poor mosquito.
Maybe.
Although they don't do it for eating, they do it for nourishing. So maybe it wouldn't really be cruel. Because all it would do is just kill off their eggs.
It is,
and eventually they die out.
It is just plan B for mosquitoes.
Hey, okay. 3. Mosquitoes. I think that's funny when some people put an E and some don't. But anyway, mosquitoes think you smell nice. We talked about that. Number 4, mosquitoes inject you with their saliva. We talked about that. And somewhere, let me grab my other notes here. So the actual saliva, here we go. Okay. This comes from sciencemag.org. Mosquito spit. When a mosquito bites, it injects a potent mix of proteins called anophalins into its host. So there are actually anophalins, which are the blood thinner, basically.
Okay.
Which would Anopheles is a mosquito. So I wonder if
It's related
yeah,
etymologically.
I researched this a couple days ago, but I'm just like kind of making that correlation. So I wonder if so back to Sir Donald Ross who discovered it, was it the chicken before the egg or they
Hmm.
that because were they anophelins because they were already anophelins the protein, and so he called the mosquito that because there's basically putting that protein into, or was it the other way around? The mosquito was named first and then he named protein after it.
Possibly.
Or do they not even have anything to do with each other?
It's all Greek to me.
It is. To me too. And then let's see. Okay, last top five fact: they transmit deadly diseases. So, and so we talked about malaria. They also, I talked about Zika, but they also transmit the West Nile virus as well. And so, with all of those, Zika, West Nile, and malaria, we have seen them in the United States, but that's only because they actually, were brought over
Yeah.
from tourists and things like that. So I guess for the most part, our treatments in the variety of areas here and the even our more rural areas, I guess, must be treated properly, or at least people are kind of protecting themselves a lot better.
Isn't it that the West Nile virus is effectively eradicated in the United States or something
I
like
haven't
that?
heard much about it recently. And once again, when I worked at the blood center, I did, hear a lot of things like that. And there's, even now, there's still a lot of island countries because, of course, living once again in Florida, we have a lot of people who take cruises all
Hmm.
the time. And there were a couple stops that if you went to those, you couldn't get blood for a year because of just a bunch of different viruses carried usually by mosquitoes. And so there was one donor that literally would not get off the ship on one port so they could donate blood.
Hmm.
So that was interesting. But yeah, so yeah, I haven't really heard much, and I haven't heard a lot about Zika lately either. And then of course you don't necessarily hear about malaria in the U.S. or just in general. You hear about it kind of overseas, but even then, I don't think there's a whole lot you hear about. So, in order to celebrate, if you call it celebration, I mean, I guess it's celebration because, if they hadn't discovered the link, then there would be preventative measures and stuff like that. But if you go to nothingbutnets.net, nothingbutnets, not net, they actually have different ways to take action. They have a lot of resources available, different ways, that you can help here and abroad. And they even have a malaria map, which is kind of interesting to look at. So, I would, to celebrate the day, reach out and try to keep Ross's legacy alive by helping people, in need in those countries. It doesn't take much to buy a net, or if you, want to go on some kind of mission and help deliver nets, then get involved that way as well.
It actually does sound like a very effective and productive charity. You gotta watch out for some that just like to take money, but this one actually sounds like it's doing something, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I have two facts about mosquitoes.
Ooh.
Um, I I assume most people know about where the etymology of malaria came from, but I'll go ahead and pose it. Do you know what malaria means slash where it actually came from?
No.
So I think it's from Latin, which makes sense. Mal being bad and
Oh
all
yeah.
that. So malaria literally means like bad air. So when you're talking about like the plague, which was not malaria in the sense of the same disease, it was still referred to as malaria because they thought anything that was basically a plague or disease like thing was produced by sickly air. And that's why you have like the old time doctors who had those really kind of scary bird masks.
Oh
And the bird masks were filled with bouquets of flowers because it was supposed to basically cure the air for breathing.
It's interesting about the malaria and the bad air because I think this story, but we had a ring in our family. So my family actually does come from England, and we had a ring that was turquoise and pearl passed through the family. I actually have it now as my engagement ring, but every time they thought it was cursed because it was a family of girls, and the oldest girl was given this ring and she passed away. Then the middle girl was given, I don't know, I think there were only 3 in the family, but the middle girl was given the ring and passed away. And, but luckily, before they gave it to the third girl, they realized that it was tuberculosis. And they had died from tuberculosis. So, and their rooms hadn't been cleaned. And what happened was when one would die, they'd basically take that room, the next daughter, and stuff like that. And so they didn't, clean the linens. They didn't clean the air and everything like that. And unfortunately, the second daughter died from it as well. So kind of interesting because that, that shows that they didn't know that it was bad air back then, but in that case, it was bad air.
Yeah.
So now I have the quote cursed ring.
Hopefully there's no more TB in our house.
Well, they definitely found out that it was that before the third girl succumbed to it. So
yeah.
Anyway. All right, so you've got the next one, and I can't wait to hear about the fun part.
The surprise. So, World Plant Milk Day started on August 22nd, 2017. It was founded by Plant-Based News, a website, and it officially established a partnership with ProVeg in 2018. So this comes from their website. And basically their goal is to encourage people to drink milk alternatives for all the reasons that we probably know about, when it comes to like saving the environment, reducing animal exploitation, and it being a healthier option for humans. When I was looking up all this about plant milk and dairy-free alternatives, of course, almond milk became like the top primary source of information. And it's interesting because it's been beloved and maligned in kind of like the environmental world when you're talking about, does it actually save the environment or does it kind of cause more harm to it?
The milk or like in that case, the almond?
The specifically production of the almond, because yes, so a lot of it has to deal with how much water is being consumed to produce the almond. It is the king of dairy-free alternative drinks in the United States. So there's a lot of emphasis on, if this part of the industry is consuming a lot of water, maybe we should do something about it. So the fact is, to grow one almond, a single little nut, it requires 1.1 gallons of water, and to actually grow a pound of it takes about 1,900 gallons of water.
I remember when we were just outside San Francisco and went through the almond plantations up there, and they were talking about that and how controversial it is because of the farmers, using that much water to grow them.
Especially in California. So California is the largest producer of almonds in America, but it's also, been consistently dealing with droughts throughout the past, several years, but especially with the craze of almond milk going on, everybody's kind of looking towards, how much water is being consumed on the, farmer's end. And actually, apparently, there's been a lot of efficient effort to make water consumption less, not toxic, but, less of an issue in California and in general. I think there was something about a 35% reduction in water being consumed in like a 15-year span. But because there is this kind of issue of, okay, if it takes so much water and it's, really bad for the environment, we need to move on to other species of nut or other alternatives altogether. And what many don't know is that nuts in general actually need a copious amount of water just to produce anything. So cashews are roughly the same amount as an almond when it needs, the amount of water. Pistachios, hazelnuts, and walnuts, they're several hundred gallons less, but they still require over 1,000 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of nut. In perspective, it takes 48 gallons of water for a cow to produce 1 pound of milk. I know that kind of sounds funny, like 1 pound, what about ounces? But when you're having to work with these different ratios,
that isn't what I thought was funny. Is thinking about that much water to make the milk.
Yeah. Well, most of milk is water, and it's interesting because if you actually look at milk alternatives, so here's like a basic example of how an alternative milk is made. And actually, a lot of people recommend doing this, especially if you're going to be doing nut milks, because a lot of the ones that are being sold in stores don't have a lot of nut in them. That's the best way to say it, because for 1 cup of almond milk, there might be 6 to 8 almonds in that cup. So that doesn't mean a lot of protein. It doesn't mean a lot of other vitamins, minerals, and such. But if you were to make it at home, simply all you do is you soak a pound of almonds or whatever nut of your choice in about a cup of water for 8 to 48 hours. And then you put that into a blender. You put maybe I think you have to get rid of the water. I don't really remember. But either way, you put in 4 more cups of water. You blend that up for 2 minutes and boom, that's it. That's what almond milk is. And you sieve it through a mesh. So no matter what nut milk you're making, it's gonna lose a lot of the protein. So almonds are considered a very good food if you are searching for protein. But because the pulp is no longer in this milk, then it takes away a lot of that. Either way, you still retain a lot more of the nutrients in it if you make it yourself versus buying one in store. But like I said, a cow produces 1 pound of milk for 48 gallons of water. And for 2 popular non-dairy, non-treat nut alternatives, so rice milk consumes 299 gallons and oat milk consumes 290 gallons, which are significantly less than 1,000+ gallons of water. And I thought this was very interesting. Potatoes take up a considerably, less amount of water, roughly about 46 gallons, which is even less than a cow does. And they actually do produce potato milks.
Potato milk?
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never heard of potato milk.
I know. I think I only saw sweet potato milk, which kind of makes sense because a lot of these alternative milks, they don't necessarily taste like regular milk, and they're not really trying to go for that. A lot of them are sweeter in flavor and try to go and emphasize the flavor of the actual item they're working with. So if it's rice milk, it's supposed to taste like rice. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting about potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like potato soup is good, but it's also very, very, very thick. So I don't know how it would taste, almost like have a potato soup, but it'd be runny.
I don't know because so a thing that comes up when you're looking at milk alternatives is even though you might not be going exactly for a flavor of milk, like cow's milk, goat's milk, whatever it is, a lot of people are still looking at a consistency of milk where it's got that creaminess, it's got the thick and viscous kind of thing going on with it. And almond milks and cashew milks are actually pretty thick, but almond milks and I think macadamia milks are supposed to be pretty thin. And so that kind of is a turnoff for a lot of people. So, hey, if a potato is thick and creamy, I guess, and that adds up to what people want. And so when it comes to studies about the beneficial or ill effects of milk on the human body, because I think you can argue either way. Like, yeah, it can reduce environmental issues, it can reduce animal exploitation. It's kind of goes down to, okay, so is it actually healthier for the human body? Because we're told, like, oh, no other animal in the rest of the animal kingdom drinks another animal's milk. And they always go back to, like, it's the animal producing the breast milk for their young and supposed to give them nutrients that are meant for that specific species, which we talked about a few days ago. It was like, well, maybe not naturally other animals will do it, but at the same time, you have surrogates. And the stories of, like, say it's a monkey and it takes in, I don't know, I'm just naming animals, a dog or something, or a pig or something, and it'll feed the milk. And I don't know, it's maybe not natural, maybe it shouldn't fit the ecosystem, but at the same time, it happens. Plus, we feed our animals dairy products. They like milk. Cats are known to like milk. Cassie likes cheese.
I know I talked about this before, and once again, it's probably not the best because I'm sure there's some nutrients, passed down and all, but I don't see it being too big of an issue.
Yeah.
But
So I was, doing this. I actually watched a video a while ago that talked about different studies that are done for the beneficial and the ill effects of milk. And I think as consumers, we can't really conclude anything meaningful from any study's results. And unfortunately, that's due to, like, biases made in these studies. Often the studies are contradictory, and when you look at who funds the studies, there's reasonable cause for there to be the existing biases. If you're reading a study that promotes the drinking of milk because it's a superfood and filled with calcium, it makes your bones strong, it's most likely promoted by the US government and its partners, which subsidizes milk production throughout the nation. And if it's a study that denounces the drinking of milk, maybe it shows that milk can inconclusively lead to higher rates of cancer in their sample size populations. The study was probably produced by groups invested in milk alternatives or other related organizations, maybe to do with animal rights. But because of that, they really straddle the line of the good and the bad of milk consumption, and it's all about the money, at the end of the day. So unfortunately, I don't think there's anything that can be said either or when it comes to, is milk bad or good for the human body. But there is infallible evidence, or what I consider to be infallible evidence, to show that where milk lacks certain nutrients, it can be made up for in plant milks. So, namely, it's for the simple fact that dairy producers, cows, goats, any animal, can't actually produce a certain type of nutrient in their type of milk. As for example, fiber and iron are not really existent in cow's milk. Vitamin E is also, I don't think it exists, but maybe I read that wrong and it's just like a very low amount. Either way, it's not, to a large effect that it would actually really do good for the human body, or add to the human body's system. So, but it's also vice versa, where cow's milk has a substantial amount of nutrients that are not found in these dairy substitutes. So cow's milk is high in vitamin D and high in protein. Like I was saying before, almonds they have a lot of protein, but they lose a lot of it when the pulp is no longer within the actual milk itself. Soy actually retains roughly about the same amount of protein, but there's other issues with soy, and that just kind of everything with you have to look at when it comes to alternatives or even just regular milk. It's kind of like, what nutrients are you putting in your body, which ones are you missing. And when it comes to American culture specifically, we don't tend to really add a lot of nutrients that come specifically from plants. We always have an issue of Jimmy not eating his Brussels sprouts or broccoli or something. And so,
Yeah, that's something that we'll have to look at when we go back to Europe and stuff like that. I've never really thought that because we are so heavily soy based here. And I know we try to do, in our family, we try to do our best to not eat a lot of soy and find soy alternatives if we can. It's really, really hard though because there's soy lectin and there's other soy items, but that's just because soybean is so cheap and prevalent here. Where, of course, when we go overseas, we see more olive oils and things like that. So it'd be kind of interesting to see because we've never really looked at plant-based milks over there. So we'll have to keep an eye on and see, are they more like an almond-based or cashew-based or something like that, or do they have a lot of soy milk too? Because when people, lactic had the lactic problems and stuff like that, they started really coming out first with soy milks, and people with milk allergy, soy milk. That was like the big craze. And I remember when I used to babysit, one of the little girls had an allergy to milk, so she had soy ice cream, she had soy everything, and I did not like it at all. I even thought, oh, the ice cream won't be bad. It was horrible. Now I know that a lot of the soy products have advanced flavor-wise and, a lot better that way. But once again, there's other issues with soy in general that's, not per se very good for you. But it would be interesting to see, do they have a high prevalence of soy milk over there, or is once again that we have that because of our cheaper soybean?
I really couldn't tell you because I also don't know. Maybe it's possible that in Europe, soy or soya, when it comes to like milk alternatives, that's what it's typically referred to as, if it's subsidized too by the governments over there, maybe by the EU or something. Yeah, I really don't know when it comes to the milk alternatives, but I also didn't know much about the milk alternatives here. I kind of thought it was like silk, soy milk.
Yeah.
That was it. And then almond milk started coming out. It's like, okay, well, that's the next trend.
So when you lived overseas, you never really, because you aren't into alternative milks that much,
No,
right?
I like my dairy. Also, France likes their dairy, so
Although you like coconut water.
I do like coconut water.
Yeah, I mean, it's not milk, but
Well, there is coconut milk as an alternative. There are actually so many choices of alternative dairy-free milks. And what's very interesting is okay, almond milk. My friend Brendan can't have that because he's allergic to tree nuts. And then you consider, okay, cashews, macadamias, all those are milks too. And they're kind of more the mainstream, I guess. And he couldn't have any of those even if he wanted to. But when I was looking up information, they're talking about, well, if you're allergic to tree nuts, soy is a good alternative. If you're allergic to gluten or there are different allergens, right? So if you're allergic to gluten, hemp is actually a good choice for a milk alternative.
I haven't heard of hemp milk.
Yeah, I think it's not the most popular option, only because it's supposed to taste very earthy.
Yeah, I don't know.
And kind of sour-ish. So there was something like wheatgrass milk too that came out recently. So, but I mean, all these milks include legumes, seeds, nuts, cereals. And just going back to kind of like, should you do alternative milks versus regular milk or whatever? I think it depends on your diet. I think it's probably good to have a mixture of both. And again, if you are somebody who doesn't use or have a lot of plants in their diet, then it's probably a good area to look into because you don't have to eat it, you don't have to cook it, you just put in something and you consume it, right? And then the same thing for regular milk. Like if you're not hitting a high protein level, then you can start looking into that. Um, what's also there are just so many factors too when you are trying to look at, okay, should I choose this alternative milk versus regular milk or whatever, because many non-dairy products can also be fortified with other vitamins or minerals to equal or exceed the amount of animal's milk. And one thing to consider actually is that many alternatives have an excessive amount of sugars in them to make them palatable.
Yeah.
Way more than that would be found in a glass of cow's milk. A lot of the time, it's like double the
Wow.
amount of sugars. But then you also have like there are practically no calories sometimes in the unsweetened version. So a lot of nutritionists are like, go for the unsweetened, you're pretty much good.
Do they talk about shelf life on any of it?
I did not look that up, but you will find that many um, alternatives are, actually on a shelf and not in a refrigerator. What is typical for most of them when it comes to at least when they've been open is about 3 to 5 days. Like if you're doing it homemade, maybe about 3 to 4 if it's been given a lot of emulsifiers and other agents and additives, mainly from stores, then they probably be about 4 to 5 days. I think if it's not been, they were explaining in a video, there are like two different processes, and these two different processes are the reasons why some are on the shelf and why some are in the fridge. I don't remember the actual titles, but let's say it's like high temperature, high temporal pasteurization, which is the one that can be found on the shelf. And it's great because it can, I think, last up to about 2 years on the shelf before being used, or before spoiling, I mean. And when it comes to the other one, which is pretty much the same type of process, but with a shorter amount of pasteurization, or the vice versa. I'm so sorry. I'm like, I didn't really pay attention to all that. But what I do remember is the reason why you would choose that one over the one that's on the shelf is because it actually, when they're pasteurizing it, it doesn't take away as many nutrients. So they are a little bit more abundant in these nutrients, minerals, and all that. So,
Well, that'd be the same as cow's milk. That the fresh cow's milk. If you've got a co-op around you or a farm that you can actually go get fresh cow's milk, it's much better for you health-wise that way because you get more nutrients than buying it pasteurized.
yeah. And it would be interesting to see again with Europe, like, it's here, it's unheard of to find milk on the shelf, pretty much. But over there, it's so common. Even like eggs are on the shelf. You don't refrigerate them. So,
We do have some box milk because preparing for the hurricanes and stuff and doomsday.
yeah.
But it's they do have boxed milk on the shelf. I've never liked it, but honestly, when we don't have refrigeration for several days because of hurricanes, it's nice to have it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's actually pretty much all the facts that I had on the day itself, or everything kind of related to what I just wanted to talk about when it came to dairy-free alternatives when it comes to milk beverages. Like coconut milk, it's a lot of the time called a beverage. um, I don't know if that has really anything to do with like FDA regulations because a lot of them will also have to have like milk in quotations or have milk be spelled with an I or an A or an E. So it's like milk instead of milk. And again, I think maybe that has to do with the FDA. What's interesting about the FDA and regulating milk, so looking at different data points for trying to compare like regular cow's milk to these dairy-free alternatives, it's kind of hard to look at their nutrition values because the FDA only looks at their vitamin D level and I think one more level like calcium, so calcium and vitamin D. Those are the only points they actually look at. So they don't consider other factors in it. They don't consider the fiber. They don't consider the iron. They don't consider this and that. So
That's interesting. I think it was Laverne and Shirley where they did the milk with was it Pepsi and mixed it
oh
together.
yeah,
Could you imagine doing that with plant-based milk?
I don't either or is a bad choice. Just no.
Yeah, you did bring up a good point though about the sugar. I mean, I haven't really been into alternative milk. Of course, I don't drink a lot of regular milk either, but I wouldn't have considered that, but that is true because most of the alternative milks are like a vanilla or something like that, or some kind of flavor,
Sweetened or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so you either probably have gobs and gobs of sugar, or you have the bad saccharin in there,
Yeah.
and those kind of products and stuff. So that really, health wise, unless you're doing it because you can't tolerate the lactose
Or
or
for
whatever.
like animal cruelty and something like that.
That would be interesting because it probably really wouldn't be much. The only time I tried the soy milk way back when my baby sat, and then I got back into it a little bit again with Starbucks because they have all those different that you can, instead of just getting milk and stuff, you can get all the different types. And I tried almond milk for a while, and it actually wasn't too bad in my latte, but I went back to regular milk. But it wasn't all that bad.
Well, what's interesting too is, so going with the sugar, a lot of brands will have a version, like a barista version, which is just essentially it has a lot more sugar or like a lot more fat in it because it's used for mixing in with coffee. And so like we have an espresso machine, right? And comes with a milk frother, but we tried with an almond milk before and it just could not froth up because it does not have the same amount of fat as whole milk, whole fat milk, which is what we typically use. So it was very disappointing and sad. And I guess this is what the dairy-free alternative companies have figured out. They got to add more fat by adding in like rapeseed oil or sunflower oil, some kind of an oil to actually like thicken it up, or some other emulsifier to get it going, which is not very healthy for the body. It's two more things to kind of consider if you are like thinking of going completely alternative or anything like that. Is you might be doing it for ethical reasons, and you might be thinking animals are the people, or not the people, but the group to be looking out for in this situation. But apparently there's a lot of issues too when it comes to nut production, like whether it be in the factories or whether it be with the farming, maybe more so with the farming. There might be actual people who are getting exploited for,
well, even just the plants, because yes, plants are renewables, unlike going and killing an animal, but at the same time, we just have forests, they're being destroyed, all the rainforest and pine forests and stuff. And okay, granted, maybe you don't use those particular plants, but I'm sure the plants that you're using, if they're going out there, if they have an actual like factory where they're growing all these plants and they're only harvesting them from there, but if they're having to go out and harvest them from the wild, they're taking away from animals there, and their habitat. And then also, once again, how long does it take to renew these resources and things like that?
And even I think it's for like an almond tree, it takes several years for it to produce any almonds. So you're kind of like just using up a lot of land for nothing for a while.
Yeah, so a lot of resources and all that water once again.
But I'm not, denouncing or disparaging.
They have pros and cons, and like you said at the beginning, it doesn't really seem like anything leans one way or another. They both have good and bad, and it kind of equals out.
Yeah. Until we find something that's a cure-all, then it's kind of like you gotta do what you think is best for you.
So it really goes back
ethically
to more to
dietitian.
health and ethical reasons, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So here comes the fun part.
Okay.
I watched a YouTuber do this a few weeks ago. Hannah Hart, bless her soul. She's such a sweet girl. So she got her friends together and they did a blind taste test of different alternative milks.
Okay.
And then actually a couple of days ago, I think it was Vogue on their YouTube channel. They had Anne Hathaway do like a bunch of different, just things that she had never done before. They're really strange but fun. And one of them was try out different alternative milks. And I'm like, what better way to kind of like celebrate the segment than to get us trying out exotic drinks to us? Because again, we only drink whole fat milk. If we need to, we'll drink 2%. But otherwise, we are diehard true fan. I know we need our cheese. We need our frothed milk. I had a latte before this. But
so we're going to try milk.
Yes, milks.
Milkus.
We have several drinks available to us. Dad and I, we ran out to the grocery store and tried to get a variety of them. So we got ones that are almond, we got ones that are macadamia and cashew, we got coconut and flaxseed, I think. And some of them have like additional flavors to it. So how about we go ahead and take a break for a second and get Dad to actually help us, with this blind taste test. And,
This is when we need a vlog.
Yeah, we need a camera over here.
Okay. I guess I'm in.
Are you brave enough to go beyond?
Do we have a spittoon if we don't like them?
Our gullets.
Yuck. Okay.
All right, yeah, we'll be back, guys.
So we have apparently a butler serving us, and he has a towel draped over his arm, but it happens to be a Thanksgiving towel.
And so, like, in each hand is a nice little champagne cup.
Those are custard cups.
Custard cups?
Those are custard cups from England.
You put some Prosecco in it, you're good. It works.
I guess they could be cordial cups.
All right.
But Gigi always used them for custard.
Okay, well, now we're using it for alternative milks. So, a disclaimer. All these drinks, of course, again, go bad in 4 to 5 days. But we're going to use them up when we can. Even if we don't like them, I hope. I'm going to do it anyhow.
We can find a good cause to donate them to.
If anything, there's one drink that I know Clyde would use, so I could pawn that off on him, my friend. But, and then...
What, you want to kill him?
He likes this one. I know he does. He was talking... I'll get into that in a bit. But, so basically this is going to go as our butler, Daddington. What kind of name do you want?
You can call me whatever you want.
Okay, I think we'll go with Daddington for right now.
Daddington.
Do I have an English accent?
Yeah, that's not very English.
Oh.
Okay, now there it is.
Well,
Very Holmes. But, so he will bring in a selected drink, one of the alternatives, and they can be anything like flaxseed to coconut milk. And so he'll bring them in each round. We will go ahead and taste them, give our flavor palette profile.
Do we have a list to pick from, or do we just have to say them? Because you would have the advantage. You know what?
No, we have a list.
Okay.
You'll just have a handicap for the first one because you're going to go in blind.
Okay.
And so we'll go ahead and try to figure out from the flavors just what could be in it, and then we'll go over that list and try to match it up with the one that's actually present on there and see if we're correct or not.
No mosquito spit in there, is there?
we.
He said yes. He
Yes,
said oui.
he did say yes.
So one of us might get malaria, but that is not due to any of the brands. That is due to our butler wanting to get our inheritance. Okay, I think we should get started.
He's only giving that look because he knows there's no inheritance.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry for that,
I
Daddington.
think I am a butler.
All right. Are you ready, Mom?
Are you ready for us to like spit it back out on you if we don't like it?
No.
Is that why you brought the Thanksgiving towel in?
No, I'm thankful to have a job.
Maybe we need bips.
Perhaps, yes.
Okay.
Madame?
All right. Are you gonna
Monsieur.
do 1, 2, 3?
Merci.
I'm not downing it. I will take a little sip of it.
Are we going to do like a little smell test of it too?
Oh. Well, actually, that smells good.
It smells, I want to say almost fruity.
Oh, it doesn't smell free to me. It smells like a custard. Actually, maybe it's the custard. Yes, but
Or no, you know what it kind of smells like? It smells like the milk that has soaked up a bunch of cereal.
yeah,
And it's fallen to
that's
the
it.
bottom.
You know what? That's exactly what it smells like. Talking about cereal, we went to a cool place in
London.
London. Was it Serial Killer Cafe?
And basically it has like all these old school cereals that you can mix together and just make this giant bowl of craziness.
We didn't check to see if they had alternative milk to put on the cereal.
I'll say they probably had 2% milk. Is that alternative enough for us?
My cereal was a little weird. I got something unicorn, and it was weird.
I don't remember. I've had it twice, so.
But it was a fun experience. So
Okay, bottoms up. It's very mild.
it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
It's thick.
Yeah,
and
well, it is
creamy.
thick. It's not very sweet though.
No, it smells a lot sweeter than.
Yeah, actually, it does smell sweeter.
I did try to get unsweetened for everything because
Ah.
I didn't want us to like. I don't know. I thought we might as well try to be somewhat healthy.
Well, that's palatable. It's not bad.
If it were mixed with other sugary items, then that'd be pretty okay.
I think it needs to be sweeter because the smell doesn't match it.
So, what do you think it could be?
Cashew?
Maybe. I think I know what it is. I'm going to show you the list right now.
I mean, I don't want to say it's bitter, but it is more like a nut doesn't have a sweetness to it.
So,
I can really see that.
I think you should just take the list.
Do you know all of them? You have them memorized?
The base of what it is, yes, I remember what they are. Because some of them have additive flavors to it.
Oh, wow. I don't know. This is difficult.
See, I think it's the oat milk. Because, like I said, it kind of has a smell of cereal.
Well, it has, like I said, it's definitely chalky, but
Mom's almost done with hers. She's like, oh,
I
yeah.
still have some. I don't know. I'm going to go with the flaxseed.
All right. Daddington,
Oui.
do you remember the one you just gave us?
Oui.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? What is it?
So who's the winner?
Well, what did you guess?
I guessed oat milk.
Then you'd be wrong.
Oh.
Then Mom would be right.
Ding, 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 ding.
So what was it?
One for the mother. Flaxseed milk.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I could have gone a bunch of different ways, but it tastes sort of like flaxseed.
Okay.
It's not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Not that I would go out of my way to get it, but anyway.
Do you think you would get it or you would drink more of it if it were sweetened or it had another flavor?
Actually, yeah, because it's thick enough. I think if it had, but once again, if it was more sweetened, does that defeat the purpose of having it? You know?
I don't know. I don't know what nutrients are in that. All right.
All right. Well, wasn't too bad.
Oh, I've got to tell you, if you miss this one, you're really bad.
Oh,
Okay,
is
so-
this one very flavorful then?
So we have 5 according to this paper.
Mademoiselle.
We had 5. We're now down to 4.
Well, okay.
So take out the flaxseed. If you want to go through the list and tell everybody what we have left,
Okay, so let's see.
and then maybe they can guess from our taste buds.
Okay, so there's turmeric, ginger, coconut beverage. It's interesting that they're like multi-blend. So turmeric, ginger, coconut beverage, flaxseed milk, which we just had, almond, cashew, and macadamia beverage, oat milk, and blueberry lavender almond beverage.
See, I'm looking really forward to the oat milk, but also the blueberry and lavender. I saw that today.
Well, I think I can tell by the smell, and I think it's probably that.
Is it? Oh, that's it for sure.
I mean, that's definitely a blueberry smell.
And yeah, it has a slight scent of lavender. It
You
smells
probably
really good.
Well, maybe they didn't have more than... It's like we probably should have gotten like several flavors of the same, but just the different plant-based to see.
Well, we
different
can
they were.
kind of do that. If you see on the list, there's 2 almonds, so this is one
Yeah.
of them. If it is that blueberry, which pretty sure yes.
Blueberry lavender almond beverage or almond cashew and macadamia beverage.
But we also got an unsweetened vanilla one, which I know I like, so I
see.
just saved that. But
Okay, well, it definitely is a blueberry smell.
it smells
don't-
really good. It smells like a blueberry muffin.
Yeah, it actually does. It does not. I don't smell the lavender, but it smells exactly like a blueberry muffin.
All right, we ready to try it?
All right.
It tastes like almond milk too.
The taste is good, but once again, it's kind of chalky gritty.
Yeah.
It's not as thick either. So, I like the thickness of the flaxseed better.
I think if the blueberry was on the flaxseed, I would like that a lot. I just don't really care for the almond kind of like almond aftertaste.
Well, what I don't think I like about it is maybe ice cream. Maybe it would be as good as ice cream, but I wouldn't want to drink a blueberry drink. Tea, I'll drink blueberry tea, but it's a little odd as milk.
That's where we disagree. I'll take anything blueberry and anything lavender. So
But it might make a good ice cream. But yeah, I can taste the almond, and I like the thickness of the flaxseed better.
I will say this tastes a lot sweeter than the flaxseed, but still unsweetened. So that's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, because it definitely tastes sweet.
Okay, I think we're ready for the next one. Were we right, Daddington? It was blueberry.
Oui.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Madame.
so thank you.
Monsieur.
So that
Merci.
leaves us with turmeric, ginger, coconut, and that's beverage, not milk. Almond, cashew, and macadamia, beverage, and oat milk.
Okay, so for this one,
I
I'm
can't
not.
smell
Yeah,
anything.
I'm not picking up anything. So I would say
Probably oat.
either oat or maybe the almond, cashew, and macadamia, because if they're all mixed together,
Maybe.
then maybe they don't have any smell,
Because
any
oatmeal
distinctive smell.
or oatmeal smells, so maybe you're right.
Yeah, there's really nothing to go off of smelling, so I think we have to
Almond,
taste it.
cashew, and macadamia. Yeah, there's definitely no smell. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, that's real milk.
We need our butler. He went to get another round. I have to question myself because it does taste like real milk. There isn't anything weird with it.
That's real milk. He put real milk in there.
He said there were a couple of
Yeah.
surprises. Oh, wait, if there's a couple of surprises,
Yeah, that scares me. This is real milk.
we figured it out.
That's real milk.
We need,
Oui.
hurry up, a real milk.
We
It's,
definitely need a vlog because they need to see our expressions.
but the funny part is like how you're saying real milk has somewhat of a smell. I think we've been inundated with the other ones already, so it's kind of like
That it didn't have much, but it has an inkling of a smell, but it didn't smell like almond or oat. But it doesn't smell like cow's milk either.
now wait, we have two.
I am not drinking that.
That has to be. I think this is a turmeric one.
It's gonna be the turmeric ginger, but if it isn't, then Dad put eggs in.
I would not put anything in there to harm you.
Would eggs harm us?
Eggs would harm us, but I don't like drinking raw eggs. Okay, well, from the color, it looks like turmeric, ginger, coconut.
Came from Old Yeller, the dog.
Oh, poor old
Well,
Yeller.
actually, it smells good. It
It's-
does. It smells like cinnamon though, more than ginger.
So with this one, they might also have pepper in it. It might be a little bit spicy, I don't know. But apparently, I don't know how to pronounce this. Hande Dalu or something. It's Hindi. But apparently, it's really good if you're sick because it has like the anti-inflammatory and all
the turmeric is
Yeah.
really, really good. Well, and ginger, both.
So like Clyde was saying that if you take like a swallow full of this every couple of hours, the first day you're starting to feel like a sore throat, it's going to go away immediately. That's nice.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know.
I like it.
Ugh.
It's sweet. It's got a nice balance of flavors.
I don't like it. It looks like orange juice. So my mind's expecting orange juice.
Acid and stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't like. But you know what? I don't really like turmeric or ginger, so that's probably why.
I'm trying to figure out if there's more of one flavor versus the other. I don't know.
We probably should have done this without the sheet and tried to, but you would have had an unfair advantage.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, I did not like that one.
Do you want to try it, Dad?
My hands are full.
I will switch out one.
I'll try it.
Okay. It's pretty
I don't
good.
drink much that's yellow.
It also kind of tastes like a little bit like, to me, pumpkin, but maybe that's just the color.
It's good it isn't, because you're trying to kill me.
They did have pumpkin.
Did they? Did they also have a sunflower seed one?
No, but we're looking at pumpkin potato or tomato sauce.
Pumpkin latte, or not latte, creamer should be out.
I didn't say anything.
Anyway. Okay, so that means beyond any weird surprises there, we have almond, cashew, macadamia, and oat milk left.
Okay, this one looks very thick. Like very murky, kind of creamy.
You didn't guess the last one.
Yeah, we did. The turmeric. Well, okay, are we correct? Turmeric, ginger, coconut.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo!
Tell
we
that
got
from
it.
the color, though.
Madame?
Okay, because
That's
it's
super cold.
Because it's so thick, I would say it's the macadamia one, maybe. The mixture of
There's no
macadamia,
smell.
almond, and cashew. Again, it might be non-distinct.
It's super cold, though.
Oh, I smell stuff. It smells very sweet, though.
Our others weren't that cold.
This is cold. It's the same amount cold. It just feels like water. He's probably rinsing them out.
I don't know. I'm wondering if he gave us something else. Ugh.
It's okay.
Ew, what is that? That's
that might be
nasty.
oat. It really tastes like oats.
Yeah. I don't know. It's nasty.
If it is the oat one, it's funny because like a lot of people really like this one.
I don't know. I can't tell.
'Cause
They're
it's-
all, one thing that I don't like about them is they're all gritty.
Especially the regular milk.
Jimmy, you want to try some?
He probably would. You should try.
I wonder if it's safe for him.
Did
Did you research that?
Not sure.
No.
He doesn't want it, so
Our kitty turned his nose up at it.
he's like, if it's not proved,
I could have given you the cow's milk. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like the grittiness or the taste.
I don't mind it because
It's
it
not
tastes like
sweet.
oatmeal.
It's not sweet, though. I don't like it. Well, I like oatmeal, but I do tend to like it if it has, like, maple and stuff in it.
Oh, we've had a foul.
Ah! Do I have to clean the rug?
Yep.
Okay.
Am I going to have a plant growing now?
Possibly.
Okay, this one's gross.
No, I approve of it. It tastes like oatmeal.
So Bryce says the oat milk. I guess I'll go with that. I don't know. There's only 2 left, and to me it could be either.
It's the
It is oatmeal, or the oat milk.
All right.
Madame.
So this is our last one.
See, I like unsweetened oatmeal.
I know this is really thick.
This is the macadamia one, right?
Well, unless Dad added
Ooh.
a surprise, but
It smells really good, whatever it is. It
It's,
smells like nuts. It smells like a creamer, though.
it's very, very...
I think that maybe gave us a creamer.
Oh, yeah, that's creamer.
Yeah.
That's hazelnut.
Is it hazelnut
No.
or amaretto?
No, that's white chocolate macadamia.
Yeah, macadamia.
That's white chocolate macadamia.
I'm gonna still take a sip.
I like creamer, but I don't like flavored creamer by itself like that.
Wow. After having all the other ones, where they kind of maybe tasted sweet, not at all. This one, it packs a punch of sugar in you.
Yeah, I love just like drinking cream, but I've tried like straight creamer like that. I can't stand that.
I drink those.
Now Grampy will drink an entire bottle of creamer
He'll
like
drink
that.
3 of them.
So white chocolate macadamia
Creamer.
not beverage, not milk.
Ah.
Madame.
It's a lot of viscous.
This doesn't have any smell either.
I don't think anything would have a smell after the last one.
That one's not bad, but I would want some sugar in it.
I don't like it.
Need sugar.
It had a weird, like, kind of astringent, kind of like punch towards the end. It's,
But you know, that tastes closest to a milk product.
no, I don't. It tastes like sour milk.
Still tastes like the closest to a milk product.
Oh. So,
Almond, cashew, and macadamia.
Well, there was only one choice left. So.
yeah.
Process of elimination.
Yeah, it's
All
no
right.
bueno.
We do appreciate the dad unit because he has brought them all in and he's cleaning them up.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, son and dad made dinner tonight, so that was very nice.
That was better tasting than the last one. No.
Got to order of
That trifecta was not good.
Okay, well, I will say, could at least drink them.
Uh-huh.
I didn't feel like I needed to spit any out,
Uh-huh. I should have gone for the hemps.
but there were some gross ones there that I would never do again. But it wasn't like I would take it and spit it out. So
I think my top winner is either the blueberry or the oat. Like, blueberry because I really like blueberry, and oat because I really like oat. So,
I think actually I would do the flaxseed if it had been sweetened.
would you like drink it straight up, or would you just put it in like a cereal or something?
I think I would. Well, I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to drink any of these really straight up. But if I had to, probably the flaxseed.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That was the contest. We're all winners.
If you want to ask me which one I preferred about all of them, the cow's milk.
Yeah. What about the creamer, huh?
I didn't even drink that.
I know.
So, okay, well, that was fun and interesting. I'll have to see how it comes across in a podcast. I mean, we'll keep it there, but might needed to videotape just that little segment.
I do agree, though. I was a lot more impressed by the palatability of them all. I really thought that some of them were just going to have some kind of a funky flavor to it and be like, okay.
None of them have an aftertaste, so that's a good thing.
Debatable. I'm still tasting the macadamia one. Not the creamer.
But one thing I did not like was they all definitely were gritty.
Well, that's that. That's the...
Oh, how do we celebrate?
I would recommend go out and do this yourself, or at least just...
Would you really recommend that?
I would do it. I think it would be fun. Like with the Hannah Hart video, she had a bunch of her friends, and then she just got to watch their emotions and their faces. So that was a good time. But I would recommend just going out and even trying one of them. Like maybe you could do a weekly thing of, all right, I want to see what this is all about. So let me go ahead and grab one, and it can start off on World Plant Milk Day.
Or you could, like, I guess, try creamers or something if you don't want to go full. Or a latte or something that has an added splash of it.
Or even recipes. I mean, like a lot of the coconut milk, I got a very specific one, but they just have regular coconut milk, and a lot of recipes, like a lot of Indic recipes, ask and require of it.
Yeah, I still use coconut milk a lot. So anyway. All right.
And just be aware of what you're putting in your body, I guess, and don't get fooled by propaganda.
Well, that was fun, and none of us are going away until October, so we should be coming to you next week with 2 more holidays.
That's that.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us in our hop through these silly and strange celebrations. We'll be back again with another assortment of holidays to inspire new traditions.
You can follow us at Don't Tell the Easter Bunny on Facebook and Instagram, or Don't Tell the EAS1 on Twitter. And for emails, you can use Don't Tell the Easter Bunny at gmail.com.
See you next time.